So, Miss Disha, we have here. She is our CEO and head of operations. So, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, of course, you know me, Miss Victoria. My name is Tisha. I'm actually the founder of Precious Places.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit about myself. I started in the healthcare field back out of high school.
Okay.
I started, my very first entry level position was as a direct care worker. And, for me, my father was just like, get a newspaper. At
Mm-hmm.
that time, there was newspaper. It wasn't a lot of online stuff.
Right.
Find a job. And I came across the ad, applied for it, got accepted the position. And for me, I didn't know what to expect. I
Mm-hmm.
had no clue what a group home was, let
Mm-hmm.
alone how to take care of adults.
Yeah.
Because at the time I had just graduated high school myself,
Right.
and dad is like, you need a job.
Yep.
Fast forward, I fell in love with the clients
Mm-hmm.
that was in the home. It was a 6-bed licensed home. A lot of the clients there were geriatrics, so they were older adults.
Okay.
Some of them had some mild to moderate behaviors,
Okay.
but also majority of the clients that lived at that site were nonverbal. So I had to learn how to communicate with them
Mm-hmm.
as they were able to receive communications from me. Um, Not knowing that I would make a career out of it, but building the foundation of where I am today
Mm-hmm.
off of starting the foundation as a direct care worker. I think I can understand and relate to a lot of the staff
Mm-hmm.
and some of the issues they may be faced with. So I always say that I'm a direct care worker at heart. Um, People have told me that I have a servant's heart,
Mm-hmm.
but also I love what I do, not just as the CEO and owner, but the caregiving piece.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever moved past that. I love to be involved, but at the same time, I keep a lot of my certifications current because I
Mm-hmm.
never know where I may need to fill in at.
Yeah.
And that is the piece that will always be with me.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it enables me to continue to care for those who cannot care for themselves.
Absolutely.
And just so to, with regards to my education level,
Mm-hmm.
I started the business um, back in 2004. At that time, I had some college education.
Mm-hmm.
However, I continued and ended up getting my bachelor's in health service administration with a minor in psychology from Baker College in Flint. Um, but
And you live in Flint currently.
I
And
do. I actually live in the Genesee County area. Although part of the business is in the Flint area, the
mm-hmm.
other part of the business is here
Mm-hmm.
in Holland, Ohio, which is a suburb of Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
I actually commute, 1 to 2 days a week. It just
Mm-hmm.
depends on what we have going on.
Mm-hmm.
But also, too, I know you interviewed Shar. Shar actually is our office manager, and she does a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the oversight for me here in my absence.
Right.
But with regards to my education, I did continue my education and ultimately got my master's degree in the study of law from the University of Toledo. Go Rockets!
You just graduated too, like
I
last
I
year from
did.
that.
I did.
So that's big.
Yep, I actually graduated the fall of 2023.
Oh yeah,
So it was
that's
a
right.
little over a
Mm-hmm.
year, but my biggest thing with that is understanding the legalities,
Mm-hmm.
the regulations, understanding how to read a contract.
Yes.
Those are some of the things that I wanted to be proficient at.
Mm-hmm.
And in getting that degree, it just allowed me some extra training,
Mm-hmm.
in those areas, and just understanding the flow of business.
Mm-hmm.
A business encompasses a lot of things, and especially a business as unique. And this is considered a specialty business
Yeah.
because it's not technically medical; it is actually considered non-medical.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is up under the healthcare spectrum.
Spectrum. Yeah, absolutely. So this wasn't something you always wanted to do.
Um,
You, like you said, you just came into it right after high school, just newspaper ad, trying to get a job.
that is absolutely right. Didn't know, of course. I mean, I thought I wanted to be a cashier at a gas station. And my dad is
Okay.
like, absolutely not. Tried that,
Yeah.
didn't work for me. I did it for probably a month, I believe it was. That plus the fact that it was a third shift attendant
Ooh.
position, my
Yeah.
dad was not having that. But he allowed me to explore that because I thought that was what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
When I was in high school, I worked for a family owned restaurant.
Okay.
Um, so I was exposed to those types of jobs
Mhm.
um, as a young adult.
Yeah.
I had no clue. Like most of
Mhm.
us, we don't know.
Absolutely.
I out of high school, I went to college.
Yeah.
Didn't work for me. And oddly enough, I went to Baker College
Yeah.
um, and ended up being afforded the opportunity to go back. And that's when I
Yeah.
subsequently, during that time, I had opened up Precious Places here
Right.
in Ohio, and I went to school in the evening.
Okay.
But I knew I wanted to get my bachelor's degree in either social work or health service administration.
Right. So how long were you in the ADS, the home care side, before you started Precious Places? Because you started in 04, correct?
That yes, that is correct. So I started my very first home, which is a 6-bed licensed home in
Mm-hmm.
Genesee County, actually in Flint. Prior to that, I actually worked as a direct care worker
Mm-hmm.
probably from 94 until probably 96.
Oh, wow.
And I only know that because I had my first child in 96. And I knew that I loved the work, but I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I needed more in
Okay.
terms of income, more stability.
Yes.
We needed health care at the time. I did have health insurance as a direct care worker because I was a full time direct care
Mm-hmm.
worker for the company I worked for, which was Spectrum. Spectrum is still around, and I will tell you that was one of the most wonderful jobs I've had in the field. Um, but also too, I knew I wanted more because now I have this child who's
Yes.
dependent on me to care for them, and I can't be
Absolutely.
stuck working 24-hour shifts. I can't be
Yes.
stuck working 16-hour shifts. As a new mom, I knew
Right.
I needed to be able to have some type of
Work life
yeah,
balance.
work life balance. And also, if I'm slated to get off at 3 o'clock, okay, I needed to be in a position to be walking out the
Yeah.
door headed home because now I got
Yes.
this child who's
Mm-hmm.
waiting to see his mom.
Yeah.
So what I did was after I went off on maternity leave,
Mm-hmm.
I just found another job in a different field of work, and I actually transitioned from healthcare, non-medical, in the group home I work to working in a manufacturing facility.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so big
Yes.
difference, right?
Yes.
Keeping in mind, I
Yes.
came from being a cashier or working
Right.
as an attendant to the direct care. Now
Yes.
I'm trying my hand at manufacturing.
Yes.
And just with that, I worked for a company that was based out of Canada. Um, the company is actually here in the States. I took and applied a lot of the principles that I learned at that company. And those were nuggets that I was able to kind of take away and say, if I were ever in a position to have my own company,
Mm-hmm.
this is how I want it to look.
Absolutely.
The company is it's worldwide. They do a lot of manufacturing of components for the big three,
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
General Motors, Ford, Chrysler.
Yep.
And the owner started that company out of his garage.
Oh, wow.
The company, obviously disclaimers, it was Magna International, and that owner was Frank Stronach.
Mm-hmm.
And I studied how he operated his business, and I applied a lot of those principles
Mm-hmm.
to how I operate my business because I can honestly sit here and say that was the one of the top three best jobs
that you've had.
that I've ever had.
That's awesome.
And he was able to um, build his company like a family,
Yes.
large company, but he understood the principles
Absolutely.
of if I can take care of my employees,
Hmm.
then they will take care of me.
And that's very important too. And I mean, I feel it, and I know Shar does too. This is a very much a family oriented. Like, even though we're just coworkers, there's still that family feel, and a lot of people like that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really big.
Yes. Yep.
So, what is your day to day operations as the director of operations? What are your responsibilities?
So, to be honest, here in Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
um, they vary. They vary in Michigan also. So, my responsibilities, just as a whole for the
Mm-hmm.
company, is I'm responsible for compliance.
Mm-hmm.
I wear the hat of the compliance officer. I
Mm-hmm.
wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
But regulations, ensuring that we are following the guidelines of
Mm-hmm.
the payer source, whether it's Medicaid, whether it's private insurance.
Mm-hmm.
We have to make for certain that we are in line with their minimum requirement,
Yeah.
but we also want to go above the minimum requirement.
Absolutely.
We want to be audit ready,
Mm-hmm.
which means at any given moment, if state comes in, welcome them in.
Yeah.
We don't want to be that agency who's looking out the blinds,
Mm-hmm.
waiting for that state worker to leave so that they
Yeah.
can say, hey, the coast is clear.
Right.
No, welcome them in. I tell my team, ask for credentials.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be a badge, have them sign in because
Mm-hmm.
any visitors that come into any establishment, whether it's the home or whether
Mm-hmm.
it's our office, whether it's our ADS side, we want to know who we're letting in the building
Absolutely.
and have them take a seat and let's get down to business.
Mm-hmm.
It could be something as simple as them coming in to do a routine inspection.
Mm-hmm.
It could be them coming in to do a scheduled inspection or a scheduled certification review, or they could have gotten a complaint.
Mm-hmm.
We're living in an age where technology makes that readily available. If somebody
Yeah.
feels like their loved one is not getting cared for, or if that person feels like they're not getting cared
Care
for,
for.
hey, call.
Absolutely.
Let's try to resolve it. If we can't resolve it, of course, we ideally would want them to come to us first so
Right.
that we can understand
Where
what
your
the issue
opportunities
is,
are.
give us an opportunity to try to kind of, work with them to get it
Mm-hmm.
resolved. Go to their social worker, caseworker, supports coordinator,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, that particular worker title is, and let them know, what grievances you have. But if the state happens to come in on a complaint that they may have gotten, from a previous employee,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that you kind of see a lot in this field, a disgruntled employee, or
Mm-hmm.
it could be a current employee who want to be anonymous, or a family member and say, hey, can you kind of look into this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we want to be transparent. We want to open that door up, and that's when I come in.
Yes.
My team understands and know that some of the things that they're faced with, put it on me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I don't want that stress on them. It
Right.
comes with a level of anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
and just pass that torch over to me,
Yes.
because that falls in line with my responsibilities as the
Mm-hmm.
licensee. In some states, I am the license holder.
Right.
I'm the designee, but more than anything, I'm the owner.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people just get uncomfortable in certain situations.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want that level of anxiety to rest on them. Some
Mm-hmm.
questions they may not be able to answer.
Mm-hmm.
But I know Shar is amazing. She's been with me for some time, and she's been able to deal with those situations
Mm-hmm.
where, unbeknownst to us, Medicaid may show up and say, hey, we're just in the area. We want to just do a random pop in
Yeah.
review. Okay, let's get down to business. but
Mhm.
I've trained her in a sense to where she understands and knows if it's something she cannot answer, she will contact me and say, hey, just so you know,
Mhm.
Medicaid is here. They are wanting this information. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Can you be available if I have a question for you?
Right.
Absolutely. If it's something that I cannot, if it's something that she can't answer, she will
Mhm.
deflect it to me. She has access to some things.
Mhm.
She has access to my office, and I can
Mhm.
direct her on where to get those things from. And I can also let her know to let them know if they would like to converse with me,
Mhm.
that they're free to contact me, call me, or depending on where I'm at, I may not be available to just
Right.
come down, you know.
Absolutely.
But I don't want that to be on anybody. I
Absolutely.
rather that be on me, so that I can make for certain that the matter is resolved rather quickly.
Absolutely. Those are big things. It's just making your staff feel comfortable and knowing that they can come to you because not everyone, not every company, you can go to your boss and say, "Hey, I'm having this issue," and have that positive response.
Right.
So that's a big thing.
Yeah, because for me, I see the person before I see the employee,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know? And I know that we all have a life outside of work. Work
Mhm.
is just part of what we do,
Mhm.
but we have much more that we contribute to society.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your favorite thing about working with individuals with these disabilities with IDDs?
I see the person, right? I see
Yes.
the person before the disability.
Mhm.
And I said this in an interview that I had probably about a year ago when we were launching, in addition to our adult day services, our
Mhm.
transitional part, youth transition part. Um, they want to be loved,
Yeah,
right? They are
absolutely.
people, you know. Society, you know, frowns upon anybody that they believe is different.
Yes,
But I see them as uniquely different.
absolutely.
And personally, I know that this is my purpose.
Hmm.
I couldn't see myself doing anything else. Sometimes it doesn't seem like work because I love it that
That's
much.
awesome.
And you know, I get a lot of people who want to get into this field because you
Hmm.
know, I do have um, part of my business. I do have consultant that I do,
Hmm.
because I have people who reach out, or I've been referred to other people who want to
Yeah.
get into the business, and they just don't have a clue. They don't understand. They
Hmm.
don't know. They just know they want to own a non-medical
Business.
business,
Yes.
agency, a non-medical facility, you know,
Yes.
home, but
Yes.
they don't know what that entails. And I
Hmm.
always ask them, would you do this whether you got paid or not?
Right.
We all need to get paid because we all have bills.
Yes.
But would you really do this? And if the answer is yes, then let's get
The-
down to business.
Absolutely. And that's a good way to really figure out if this is something you want to do is just ask that question. I've never even thought of asking people that question before. So
Yep.
that's a good question. That's deep.
Yeah, yes, yes. Because it has them think, right?
Hmm.
Oh no, this is a business. Well, of
Hmm.
course it is. But this is a unique business. You're taking care of lives,
Yeah, absolutely.
and you can't take that for granted.
Absolutely.
And I tell people this is my ministry.
Yeah.
This is how I reach the people.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay.
So, what disabilities would you say you see come in here the most? Is there
um,
one that's like sticks out, or is it just a wide range?
well, you know, I've been told from different people down and through the years, the pendulum does it shifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here we see, if you look at age, most of our older adults here,
Mm-hmm.
that may attend our adult day site center, they may have cerebral palsy. They may
Mm-hmm.
have some type of developmental delay,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be moderate, severe. Um, we deal with a lot of individuals who are medically fragile,
Okay.
but you have to look at the age, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that has a lot to do with modern technology
Mm-hmm.
and the advances in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
What we're seeing now is some of our younger adults, most of them have an autism diagnosis.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That was unheard of,
That,
you
yeah.
know, 30 years ago,
Right.
when I started in the field. All
Mhm.
we knew was developmentally disabled,
Mhm.
and that was just it. So now they're having different axes that they're adding to their diagnosis.
Absolutely.
In Michigan, I have a home that is a personal care home, which my mom lives at, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about her. Um, some of my clients there, again, seizure disorder,
Yeah.
they're older adults, developmentally disabled,
Mhm.
severe, um, requires personal care.
Yeah.
But then I have another home which is more geared toward people with mental health,
Okay. Yeah.
disabilities, whether it be bipolar, you know, um, schizophrenia,
Mhm.
different type of disabilities related to mental health.
Yeah.
And same thing, those people need caregivers because
Absolutely.
they can't stay at home or live independently
Mhm.
without needing some supports and services.
Absolutely.
So it just varies, right?
Mhm.
I know the type of individuals or clients that I'm accustomed to taking care of
Mhm.
typically falls within that range from developmentally disabled,
Mhm.
autism diagnosis, or mental health
Mhm.
disorder. I don't have any experience with substance use disorder.
Yeah.
However, some of my clients that have a mental health disorder, some of them may have had a history
Of
of
substance.
substance use.
Yeah.
So it just really depends. And I've had the experience and I've been exposed to working with those type of individuals.
Absolutely. So what, because obviously this is a lot, right? You're
Yeah.
caring for people with various disabilities,
Mhm.
various different behaviors. I'm sure a lot of stress as you try to juggle work and home life. What's your inspiration to continue?
What keeps me going is I consider this my ministry. This is
Mhm.
my ministry. This is something that God purposed me to do.
Mhm.
Because when I received the calling, I heard his voice very clear as to what I was going to do.
Absolutely.
I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just needed to trust the process.
Yeah.
And that's what's carried me,
Mhm.
from the conception till now.
Yeah.
A lot of people, how did you end up in Toledo? I said, well, God sent me down there because he
Yeah.
knew that there was more work for me
Work
to
for me.
do.
Yeah.
And being in Genesee County, unfortunately, it was very limited
Mhm.
growth.
Yeah.
It was limited growth, and I've been here um, since 2010,
Mhm.
and the only thing that prohibits growth is me. It's not
Yeah.
that the opportunity isn't there.
Yeah.
It's just me.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
sometimes I say, do I have 15 years to do it over again?
Mhm.
If all else fails,
Mhm.
can I give it another 15 years?
Yeah.
And that's a question that I still not have yet answered because that's 15 years of life I can't get back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what would you say to somebody who wants to start this line of business? I know we said before, if you can't see yourself doing it that money, it may not be the route, but is there anything else you would say? I'm sure patience, definitely, for sure.
Compassion, the love. You have to
Mhm.
have a love for God's people
Mhm.
because if anybody could do it, it would be much more success in it.
Mhm.
Some people do it, but they give up because the clients don't come as quickly as they expected, right?
Yeah.
I have this beautiful building, I have this, I have that, but nobody's here for me
Right.
to service.
Mhm.
This is a service type business.
Absolutely.
You don't get paid if you don't have, anybody to service.
Yes.
So in essence, our clients, our individuals are our customers.
Mhm.
So you get some people who is chopping at the bit, raring to go, got their certification, right? I
Mhm.
got my certification.
Yeah.
But what next?
Mhm.
A certification is nothing more than a piece of paper on a wall if you don't have anybody to service.
Absolutely.
So I would definitely encourage people to do your research,
Mm-hmm.
understand, know in your area
Mm-hmm.
who is going to certify you.
Absolutely.
What does those certification requirements dictate you have? Do you need to have a degree?
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you need to have a brick and mortar?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to have a office space? Do you need to have something that is going to enable you to get your certification that I may not be aware of?
Yeah.
And it varies from state to state because most of these type of organizations or agencies are funded through Medicaid dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the thing about it is, if a person wants to open up this type of establishment, they can reach out to us.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I said I have a consultant business and I can help them answer those questions for
Mm-hmm.
them. But the biggest thing is, what is your why? I know
Mm-hmm.
you do Why Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
What is your why? What are the pros and cons?
Mm-hmm.
What if you invest $20,000 in getting
Mm-hmm.
your business up and going and you don't get a single referral? How
Absolutely.
do you get referrals?
Yeah.
What services are needed?
Mm-hmm.
What services are lacking in your area?
Yeah.
And how can you bridge that gap?
Absolutely. So I know your mom is in one of your homes.
Yes.
And you spend quite a bit of time there helping
Yes.
out as much as you can.
Yes.
What
Yes.
is it like, not only as a business owner, but as a loved one trying to take care of somebody with these disabilities?
Yes.
And
So,
what does your mom have?
yeah. So my mother actually suffered a brain aneurysm back in 2010, which was the year I had my youngest son.
Yes.
Um, and she was able to have a successful surgery that prevented her from losing any of her function. So she had a medical setback
Mm-hmm.
from one of her surgeries, and she had to have repeated surgeries, and it
Mm-hmm.
just put her in a state to where she was unable to walk and
Mm-hmm.
without assistance, and able to function because she did have a stroke during that
Yeah.
time as well.
Okay.
So she lost a lot of her functioning. So she actually ended up in a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
My sister was very successful with getting her out of that first nursing
Yeah.
home. And she ended up in a group home in Saginaw County, which is the northern part of Genesee County, past Genesee County.
Mm-hmm.
And she did well. She thrived. I mean, she thrived. She did very well. She's walking with a walker.
Mm-hmm.
We took a family vacation, and we were taking my mom to Mississippi, which is where I was born at,
Mm-hmm.
to visit her sisters. And when she went down to Mississippi, we noticed that she just, as we were traveling, she just wasn't responding.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as we got there, we actually ended up going to the emergency room. So she
Mm-hmm.
had another medical setback, which kept her in a position to where she needed to remain in Mississippi because we couldn't fly her back home
Mm-hmm.
because of the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctors did not recommend that.
Yeah.
We could not take the long trip. So
Yes.
she ended up back in a nursing home. But this time she's actually in Mississippi in a nursing
Yeah.
home. So my sister and I would travel down once a month.
Mm-hmm.
From Michigan, we made the commitment. We were going once a month because during that
Absolutely.
time, she was having to have a lot of surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
But we were committed to making sure that we were there with her.
Absolutely.
And fast forward, she ended up doing better. I made connection with a social worker here at
Mm-hmm.
one of the nursing homes in Ohio.
Okay.
My sister lives in Ohio. And I told her, look, when you get a bed available, let
Mm-hmm.
me know. We want to get my mom back up north.
Mm-hmm.
She called me. She said, Dee, you're not going to believe this. I said, what is it? She said, we got a bed coming available. I said, well, when? She said, can she be here Monday?
Oh, wow.
My sister and I took the trip down. That was a Friday. We took that trip down. We did a turnaround. We did a
Mm-hmm.
23-hour drive turnaround.
Wow.
Picked my mom up, drove her back up north. That Monday morning, we were getting her registered.
Yeah.
And she stayed there for a couple of years. My sister was close by, keeping in mind I live in Michigan.
Yep.
Ultimately, we wanted her back in more of a smaller setting.
Mhm.
In Ohio, they didn't have, at the time, many assisted living facilities
Mhm.
or homes that were geared towards seniors.
Mhm.
They do have homes that are geared toward people with developmental delay, but
Mhm.
not necessarily seniors.
Right.
So we had her assessed, and they said because she cannot um, get out on her own if it's an
Mhm.
emergency, that they were going to deny her from being able to go into her own
Oh
home.
wow.
And that was just very unsettling for
Yeah.
myself and my sister because we know in Michigan they have
Mhm.
these homes.
Yeah.
So our goal was to get to a position to where we were able to move her when the time came
Mhm.
into a, a licensed 6-bed home.
Right.
I was able to acquire and purchase a home that
Mhm.
a family ran as a family home and cared for their loved ones, and they were retiring. And when the blast came out, I didn't immediately respond,
Mhm.
but I responded and was able to make contact with those owners.
Mhm.
And that particular day, I had a conversation with that owner. Two other people had called that day, and up until that point, they had not gotten any responses.
Oh wow.
So the timing was right.
Mhm.
So we conversed, we talked, we were both in prayer about God's direction.
Absolutely.
And they called me the following week and said, "We want you
To
to,
take it over.
to take it over." And it was a sale, but they had to be okay with who purchased.
Absolutely.
Because keeping in mind, their loved ones are still there.
Mhm.
And they wanted to make for certain that whoever took it over will allow them to still remain there and that
Absolutely.
they would be left in good hands.
Absolutely.
And that was just a double blessing because my mother was able to move to that home.
Yeah.
So once we got the license, it took a couple months to get the license active.
Mhm.
That day it was active, my mom was moving in.
Wow.
And she's been there now a little over 2 years.
Mhm.
Um, but it really pleases me to be able to see her.
Mhm.
You know, I'll go in and work at that site
Mhm.
sometimes. I give her the same care that I give everybody else. And I care I care for them with love.
Absolutely.
But sometimes when I'm not working, I may stop in and take her some snacks or whatever.
Mhm.
She loves Cracker Barrel, so if it was up to her, she will have it every day. But we stop in and bring her Cracker Barrel,
Mhm.
or I'll stop in and just simply give her a shower.
Yeah.
I'll tell staff, you don't have to shower her today. I'll give her shower because that's my time with her.
Absolutely.
Um, but so I kind of joke with my sister. I say, well, you have your break. Now I guess it's my time.
Yeah.
So, but I love it. I love being in a position to do that
Mhm.
and to be able to care for her
Mhm.
in a setting that I operate.
Absolutely. What kind of mental toll does that take on you knowing you have a loved one that has these disabilities that you may not be able to do 100% on your own?
Mhm. For me, it takes a lot of trust.
Mhm.
You know, it takes a lot of trust because when I'm not there, I'm
Mhm.
trusting that the staff that I hire are not is not only taking care of the clients,
Mhm.
but they're also taking good care of my mom.
Absolutely.
So being in that position,
Mhm.
I can relate to what a lot of my families deal with.
Absolutely.
It has to come with a level of trust,
Mhm.
and um, it takes time.
Yeah. Absolutely. What were you looking for? Because when she was in Missouri, what were you, or Mississippi, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
what were you looking for in terms of a good home for her? What?
When she was in Mississippi, um, we were looking for, obviously, you look when you go into a home, you're
Mhm.
assessing the environment,
Mhm.
the cleanliness,
Absolutely.
the smells,
Mhm.
the nonverbal things, not just what that person who is touring is saying, but you're looking at their interaction, their body language. So for us, we wanted to be at peace wherever she landed, wherever she was at. It just needed to feel right.
Absolutely. What would you say to other families who may be in a similar situation that maybe are trying to do it all themselves? What would you say to those individuals?
I would say to those families, look before you need to place, because life happens.
Absolutely.
I cannot begin to tell you how many phone calls I get from people calling. I just don't know what to do. And I try to help them navigate this, because a lot of the times when you're disconnected from it, you don't understand it.
Absolutely.
You don't understand, okay, well, who is their caseworker? Who is their social worker? Do they have a social worker? What insurances do they have? Does their insurance cover these services? We see a lot of aging caregivers who've been doing it all alone, taking care of their now adult child who's never been in placement. Get them in respite services. That way you're not thrusting them into an environment that scares them if something happens to you.
Absolutely.
Because you may go on, or you may be put in a position to where you can no longer care for them, but yet somebody's going to have to care for them. And that is not only, concerning for you, but that's also concerning for that individual, because they're like, who is this? I don't know these people.
Right, absolutely.
Like, with the home, my mom is that we shadowed the owners for, a few months. We were intentional about being present so that once that transition took place, it was smooth, not
Absolutely.
only for us to be received by the clients, but also for the family to feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
Because I told the parents, take a vacation. You guys haven't been on a vacation. You and your wife go on a vacation. Let us come in for a week and let us service them.
Yeah.
You guys go do something that you have not had the opportunity to do for
Absolutely.
40 years, which is enjoy each other.
Yes.
And we was able to do that. So we let up. So it's kind of like, how some retail stores have soft openings,
Yeah.
or restaurants have
Yeah.
soft openings, where they invite,
Yeah.
people to come and just try and
Yes.
see what they offer. We did that, and that kind of helped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Is there anything else you would want anyone to know about the services you offer, or what else you can provide for anyone out there?
Yeah. So for us, we are, here, in Ohio. We provide adult day support services. We provide non-medical transportation. We also provide in-home care services for individuals in the Lucas County area. But for us, I just want to encourage not only the families to always be diligent, always pop in. If you have a loved one that may be in a home environment, just pop in. I mean, not to disturb the home, but you want to see people and things in their natural state, right? So a lot of the times, if I schedule, you're gonna know I'm coming. So
Right.
you're gonna put on your best foot forward, right?
Absolutely.
But what are you offended if I pop in? Like I had
Right.
one of my caseworkers in Michigan yesterday. I was at a home, and because I had felt in at the site, and I said, what are you doing here? She's like, oh, I just left the office, and I just came by to do my quarterly. I said, okay. She said, what are you cooking? Because it smells good. I was making some homemade chicken and noodles and soup for the clients, and so we just got to talking. I like that. Why? Because I didn't expect her to come.
Absolutely.
She didn't expect me to be there.
Right.
And it's not like you're staging
Right,
the
it's more
environment.
genuine.
It's more genuine. But I love what I do. I look forward to seeing where and what other state we can pop up in and be of service. You are aware that we're looking at franchising.
Yes.
The brand. I'm looking at some states to get into that I've been doing some research on. I'm working with a team of some attorneys who are very familiar with franchising and what that looks like.
Yeah.
So we're excited because I want to be able to help, people not only open their doors, but keep their doors open
Absolutely.
and be successful because it's going to help the people. Because, right now, it is just such a need for this type of service, but you want to provide service with quality.
Absolutely.
I tell people all the time, anybody can get a certification, but can you keep it?
Yeah.
And that takes work.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sitting down with me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure.